Alright, hi everybody. Today we are going to be working on how to make a walk cycle sound using Unity. And we're going to be able to change that walk cycle sound from walking on one material to walking on another, and then to walking on a sensitive spot that could cue a player to interaction or something like that. So here we are in Unity. We're going to start from scratch. So the first thing that we're going to do, of course, is create our landscape. So to do that, you go to Game Object, 3D Object, Terrain. Very simple. And right now it's really, really big because it's supposed to be for like a whole level in a game. We don't need that much space, so we're going to come over here to Settings, and we are going to go down to Resolution. And we're going to make the width, length, and height all 50, because that will shrink it and make it a little more manageable for us. So let's see how that looks. Well, I'm still getting used to these weird controls. All right, there we go. Okay, so here's our little landscape. Much better and more manageable now. But it's a little flat, and since we are kind of going to suppose that the other material is going to be in some way sensitive, the way I envision it is that it's like a trick platform, so you could break it at some point. So that means there has to be somewhere you can drop, so we can't just have a flat terrain, plus that doesn't look very realistic. But before we go any further, we're going to name this terrain Landscape, because it's going to be our main land. Alright, now while we have that up, we're going to go over to import raw under height map. I'm going to go into our beautiful documents and everything, and we're going to go to tutorial assets and sample height map, and all this looks right, so we'll keep everything. No, wait, this is going to show up kind of weird, so no, this will be fine. I'm just kidding. It's the same, yeah. It's very important that that your height map is the same as your landscape or terrain. I made my own height map so that it could do what I wanted it to do. You can get them anywhere. So this is what my height map looks like. It's a little weird. I'd never really played with height maps before, but the main part of this world that we're worried about is this little section right here. So here's our little divot, which is where we're going to put the platform, and the player can start right over here. So it's simple enough. Usually you don't want to leave these corners open, but this is just a tutorial, so it's okay. So now that we have made our landscape, let's really fast add a terrain to it. Or not a terrain, a texture, because it kind of looks funny right now. So we're going to go to Assets, and we are going to go to Import Package, because we are going to steal the texture. Where are you? Oh, there it is. We're going to steal the terrain assets. We're going to steal terrain textures because that is what we want. We do not want all of these, so you uncheck this one and then just check the terrain textures and import them. And you let Unity do its little thing. All right, now we have our terrain assets. All right, cool. So now we're going to click on our landscape again, and we're going to go to the paint texture tool. I'm going to edit our textures and add a texture. We're going to use grass hill. You could really use anything. We're going to drag it to the texture. That looks pretty good. And so we'll just say add. Boom. We have actual real grass. It's all stretchy and weird here. But nah, that doesn't matter. Aesthetic is not our main focus right now. So we now have our little grassy plain, but we want to make our wood platform. So we are going to create another terrain, and this one, we'll go back to settings, go down to its size, and we want to change it to 25, 20, and 50. Whoa, not 250. Haha, that would be bad. 50. Alright, so you can't see it because it's behind the landscape, so we want to transform it. I've already done the math, so we know that we want it in the position of, let me see, I wrote it down, 25 and 2, and then, where'd you go? 27. There it is. Okay, cool. So now if you look at it, we've got it perfectly covering the hole. So if you wanted to make it destroy itself or however you would like to do that, you would fall into this little pit, which I would assume there would probably be like a treasure chest or something in there, but for our purposes, we're not going to get that far. It looks kind of funky because you can see the edge of it, but it's okay. From up here, it looks nice. So before we forget, let's name it something. Let us name it Platform, because that's kind of what it is. And now we are going to give it a texture as well. So back to the paint texture. Oh, just kidding. We have to import our texture. So we're going to import a new asset. We have this wood texture here, which is something I made in Photoshop. I took the textures from a royalty-free texture website. The link will be in the description. But yeah, then I edited it on Photoshop, so it has this nifty little crack right here, because that's going to be our crack spot. Anyway, so we want to add this to the platform as a texture, so add texture, and we drag it just like anything else. Now the thing with this is if we just add it, and look, there's 2 cracks, which is fine and dandy, but we don't want 2 cracks. So instead of that, we are going to edit this texture, and we're going to offset it to 8. Now there's only 1 crack. Yay. Okay, so now we have our wooden platform and our landscape, and everything's textured, looking really good. Let's save so that we don't lose anything. We will call this Walking Cycle, that's not how you spell cycle, tutorial. Alright, cool. Whoops, we don't want that in there. We want that. Oh, just kidding. We actually want this in here. Try to keep your things organized. It makes your life a lot easier later. So, yes, do that. Okay. Now, we have our scene set up. So the next thing that we want to do is add a character, because otherwise we can't play our game. So we are going to import a character from the package, because I don't want to say I'm lazy, but I'm lazy. No, seriously, it's because we really don't need super fancy stuff for this. We just need an example character. So we are going to use Unity's package, and we're going to just use their first person character. Just because it's easier that way. So we go to first person, and we will drag this little dude over into hierarchy, and he's all the way over there! He's so far away. So we're going to change his position to get him over here. We're going to move him to 34, 4, and 16. I don't really like that. I kind of want to put him over here. So, we want to put him over here. So we're going to actually move him to, let's try 21, 4, and 43. That looks a lot better. Okay, we'll leave him there. That's a good spot for him. So he's chilling. Now the problem is when we add a character controller to the scene, we just created 2 audio listeners, which is in here somewhere. But we do not want that. So we're going to go over here to main camera, and we are going to uncheck audio listener, because we want all of our sound to be heard by our first person character, since it is in first person. In addition to that, since this is our player, we're going to change its tag to player so that we can call it later in code. And I think that's all we need to do with the character controller. It looks pretty good. We don't need to change its name because we only have 1 character controller. So, cool, we've got our little character in. Yay! But if we run our... Oh, let's save. Alright, now, if we run our scene, there is one problem. It is very dark. It's kind of ambient, but it's dark. So, we are going to add a light very quickly. Just to add a little bit of light here. So, we're going to go to light. We're going to add a directional light. And we're going to move him around. We're going to put him at -10. 74, very high up. And -21, very far away. And we want to change its intensity a bit because it's a bit bright. So we are going to change the intensity. We're going to half it to about that. So we got this nice little ambient lighting here. And now when we play our scene, it's a little brighter. Things look a little nicer. You could add a skybox. I'm not going to. I think this blue looks okay, so we can just pretend it's a skybox. But feel free to if you want to. Ooh, my computer is lagging. All right, there we go. This may happen because I am capturing the footage live, so yeah, that could be why. All right, so save again, now that we have our light and everything, and we have our textures. So the next logical step is to add triggers. Now what the triggers are going to do, they are going to let us know when we are on this platform and when we are on this crack. So the first one we're going to do is we are going to add the platform trigger. Now we do not want to turn the platform itself into a trigger because that would cause problems. And the reason that causes problems is when you set something to a trigger, you fall through it. So we'll just give it a try just to see what happens. So la 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 la. Oh no. So we don't want that to happen. We want to know that we're on wood, but we do not want to fall through the wood. So we are going to turn that off, and instead we are going to add a collider. Now that is done through component, physics, box collider in this case, because we want to use a box because we kind of have a square going here. And then that's going to show up down here. Now this one is a trigger. So to make sure it's in the right place, since we've already moved our platform, we want to move our box collider as well. So we're going to move it to 13, because this is going to position the center of it. 0.2, just a little bit over, or a little bit fatter. Or no, a little bit over. The last coordinate is 10. And see, it's very tiny right now. So we want to make it a little bigger. And to do that, we are going to set it to 23. Make it a little bit fat by setting it to 0.6. And then we need to stretch it out quite a bit. And to do that, we are going to make it 20. There we go. All right, so now, oh, I clicked off of it. Where is my platform? There it is. Oh yeah, since we only have one light, we're going to just keep it directional light too. Normally you'd want to name these things, but it's not really super important. Okay, so we have one slight little problem. If you can tell, this tiny little corner right here is not being covered by our collider, so we're just going to boop on over and change this to 24. Hey, look at that. It worked. Yay. So now it's covering the entire platform. So that's good. You can see that it's a little bit up on the ridges here, and especially like right over here. But the reason I made this dip was so that the character can't get up it, so it won't ever be grounded on it. So it will never have to make the walking sound on the ridge. So it will never make it sound like wood. So there we go. We have our first collider done. And that was very, very easy. Now the next one, after we save, the next one is a little more difficult because we have to create an empty because we want to make this little crack right here our trigger. But you can't have a trigger on top of a trigger, as I learned. And so what we're going to do instead is we're going to create an empty, and we are going to use that to make another collider. So to create an empty, you go to Game Object, Create Empty. Very difficult. Now we're going to move him over to put him right over our little crack. He doesn't have to fill the crack, but he just needs to be there so that we can attach a box collider to him. So to get him there, we are going to put him at 39.5, 3, and 36.5. All right. Where you go? Game object, where are you? That's odd. Where is it? We will zoom out and see if we can find him. He's not there. Where is he? Interesting. This has not happened to me before. He could be under the platform. Is he under the platform? I should still be able to see him. Where are you? Oh, there he is. Ah, he was there the entire time. He fooled us. All right, we're going to change this to name to crack because that is what it is representing. As in crack in the wood. So now that we have our empty here, we're going to add a box collider to him by going to component again, physics, box collider. So there we go. This one is also a trigger. So we are going to set this one's center is actually going to stay right here because it's centering itself to our already centered empty. And so now we're going to change its size to 4. And then just very thin, 0.3. And then 2 across. So it's a little bit bigger than the crack if you look. In fact, it's quite a bit bigger, but because when you're in first person, it's going to look like you're standing on it even when you're not exactly over it, so it'll look okay when we are in the game. Also, I don't know about you, but I don't think wood floors crack just only when you step on the crack. I'm pretty sure they creak anytime you're anywhere near it. So that'll be fine. So we've got that done. Let's save before we forget. And now we are done with our triggers. So that was pretty easy. So what we have to do now is the coding, which is the fun part. Oh boy. All right. So coding. We have to go to assets and we're going to create ourselves a new folder so that we keep things organized. And we are going to call this folder scripts. Self-explanatory. And inside scripts, we are going to create 3 new JavaScripts. We're going to create player walk, which is going to be our main script for our character. And then we're going to add another one. We are going to call this one wood step, so the step trigger on wood. And then our last one is going to be crack step. All right. So now that we have our 3 scripts, we can open them up in MonoDevelop. You can use any text editor. I prefer MonoDevelop because it comes with the system, which is kind of nice. So we're going to do that. All right, we've got crack step open. I probably should have opened all 3 of them. All right. And now poor MonoDevelop is going to have a heart attack. All right, so we are going to start with our wood step because wood step and crack step are a lot easier to code than the player walk. So what we're going to do, in fact, we do not even need a function update for our wood step. We are just going to use start. But before we use start, we need to set a private variable. So we have, why aren't you typing? There we go. Private variable, and we're going to call it footsteps. And that's going to call player walk. So it knows to go to the other script. And that's all we got to do there. All right, so function start. Let's see. What is the first thing that we need to do? Well, we need footsteps to know what it's looking at. So we're going to tell it to find the game object first person controller. And we're going to tell it to get component. And it's going to look at the script player walk inside of the object first person controller. So that tells you where that's going to go later. Next, we are going to write another function. We're going to do on trigger enter. So this is what's going to happen when we enter the trigger. We're going to set up a collider, which we're just going to call. And we're going to open that bracket. Make sure to indent, especially later. That'll become very important so you can keep track of what you're doing. All right. So if col.gameObject.tag, remember when we tagged it? That's why we tagged it. So it knows it's looking for a player. We are going to put footsteps.onWood to true. So that means it's on the wood. We bought it on platform. That is how we do it. Awesome. Now, when we save this, and remember, you have to save JavaScript or any script in the developer before you try to use it in Unity because it will not reference any script that you write until you save. So if we save this right now and we go to Unity, it's probably going to tell us, yep, it's going to tell us that GameObject is not a member of Unity Engine Color. None of these things make any sense. Wood step, it doesn't know what I'm trying to talk about because I haven't written any code for player walk yet. We're not going to worry about it because we don't need to worry about it. Not yet, anyway. If we get done with all the coding and it still says there's a problem, might be a problem. All right. So Now we just need to know when the player is no longer on the no longer on the trigger. So, whoa, I know why it gave us that return message, because that is not what that is supposed to be. That is supposed to be cool. I do not know why I did that. All right, now let's actually see if it gives us the right error message. Oh, well, that's just going to tell us that I didn't do my thing right. We'll go back and look at that in a minute. Cool, not color. Game object.tag equals player. Whoops. Player. And footsteps.onWood is now going to be false. Alright, so that just lets it know that it is no longer on the trigger. And that's all that you have to do for this section. So that's pretty easy. Make sure we space things, make it easy to read, be nice to yourself. Alright, so let's save that, and now let's go look at that error message that Unity is going to say. There it is, onWood is not a member of PlayerWalk. Well, that would be because, if you look at PlayerWalk, it is empty, because we have not written anything yet. So, obviously, this doesn't exist. Now, the fun thing about CrackStep is it's the exact same, and I mean the exact same, well, not exact, almost exact same, as WoodStep. The only thing we're going to change is onCrack. So, instead of onWood, it's going to say onCrack because it knows now that we are on the crack. That is literally the only thing you have to change. Everything else can stay the same, because you're still looking to reference PlayerWalk, and because footsteps is a private variable in both of these, they will not interact, they will not overlap. It's perfectly fine. So, you can keep it as it is. This is perfect. We'll save it. Unity will yell at us because PlayerWalk doesn't have anything in it, so let's add some stuff to PlayerWalk. Now, first things first, we need to add some variables. We got a couple variables to play with here. So we have var onWood, and now maybe, just maybe, Unity will stop yelling at us. We're going to set it to false. Whoa, hello. We're going to set it to false first, so that way when we start playing, it doesn't automatically assume that we are on a surface that we are not on. And we're going to do the same for onCrack, which I spelled incorrectly, and monodevelop is being mean and making me say things that I do not mean. And that will happen probably at least 6 times. Alright, so now we have our 2 variables, so if we save, that message should be gone now. Go away. Yep, alright, it's gone. So, but it still can't do anything because we haven't told it to do anything. So we're going to add some more variables. We're going to add our variable woodfx as an audio clip, because that's one of the audio clips. We also have grassfx. Whoop, that's not how you type. And lastly, we have crackfx. That's hard to say. As an audio clip. So those are going to be our 3 sound effects. And then, because flags are fun, we have varFlag, which is an integer, because we're going to need to check something. Lastly, we need to invent another private variable, and this time it's controller, so we do not have to write out character controller all the time, and we can find the correct aspects of character controller that we want to find. Except I typed that correctly. Alright, so we have all of our variables set up. So what are we going to do when we start the function? Not much. We are going to get controller an actual value with get component character controller. Alright, cool. That was pretty easy. Now, update. This is where things get a little complicated. Alright, so first things first. We are going to type, basically want to know if the character is moving or not. So, the best way to do this is to look at what keys are being pressed. In this instance, we want to make sure that the default keys W, A, S, and D are not being pressed. And we don't want any of them to be pressed. So we're going to add those little lines there that mean or. Alright, so W, A, D, let's do S. Let's do it in the right order. A, S, and D. So it's checking to make sure that our character controller is not moving. So once it makes sure that it's not moving, we're going to make sure that it is grounded. Nope, I knew that was going to happen. It really likes this collider hit. I don't like it. It needs to stop. Alright, is grounded. And we're going to make sure that it is on the ground, in fact. And if it is, we need to make sure that... Alright, we need to make sure that it is on wood, which we used wood step for. So if wood step returns true, then we're going to have wood sound. Oops. And we will write wood sound in a minute. That's just going to be our general play the wood sound effect. We could put it in there as a thing, but I like putting it in a function just in case you wanted to use it with OCs or not OCs, other characters like NPCs and stuff like that. So now we have an else statement, because if it's not on wood, it's probably on grass. Obviously, if you were going to do something more, something more diverse, you would have other else if, or if else. But we only have 2 sound effects, so we're, 2 major sound effects. So we're just going to do that. Now, the other else statement we need to figure out, oops, not there. The next else statement we need to figure out is to make sure that when we let go of the key, it stops playing. I typed that wrong. This should be an else if. And we are going to say input get key up. And we're going to do the same keys that we did before. So let's just copy and paste. Whoops. That is not what I wanted. There we go. That's 4. The A, S, and D. And then lastly, we want to make sure the character is not jumping. We want to be double, triple sure. So we're going to just make sure that the spacebar, the jump button, has not been hit. So we're just going to write that in there and make ourselves doubly sure. All right. That's a very long line, but we made it. So if that does happen, we want all the sounds to stop. And that's it. All that for that. Now, we have a different if statement now to check for the crack sound effect. So, if on crack is true, we are going to make sure that the controller is grounded. No, I do not want a collider hit. Seriously. I appreciate you trying to understand what I'm doing, but stop it. Alright. Is grounded as true. Whoops. Alright. Now, this is where the flag variable comes in. We're going to use flag equals 0 because we don't want it to repeat itself multiple times while we're standing on it. Like if we go to stand on the crack and then stop, we don't want it to continuously play the crack sound. You should probably hear it once. So that's what our flag variable is going to do. So if flag equals 0, which is what it starts out as, we're going to play our crack sound effect. Now, if audio is playing, excuse you, that's not what I said. I said just audio. All right. If audio is playing, is false, so if it's not playing, weird command, then we're going to increase flag by 1. And what that does basically is once the sound stops, the flag increases so it will not repeat itself multiple times. So once we've added that, we want to close our is grounded, and we want to close, or we want to close our while, and we want to close our is grounded, and then lastly, else flag equals 0, so it resets itself every time. And that is the update function. It will run this every single frame. Very important, kind of wordy. It's not huge, but it is a pretty big section and a lot of if statements, so make sure that you indent properly and make sure all of your brackets match up. It's very important. That's why the indentation is so helpful. But once you get it done, it looks fine and great. I'm probably going to find out I left out a semicolon somewhere eventually, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. So for now, we are done with update. I think I might have just found some sort of problem. What are you connected to? Who are you? Oh, because we added an extra one. We'll just get rid of that. Alright, now the last thing we need to do is we need to define this wood sound and grass sound, which is really, really easy. We just go to function, wood sound, and audio dot play one shot, and we're going to play wood effects. And that's it. And we're going to do the same for grass sound, except, of course, instead of playing our wood effects, we are going to play our grass effects. And that is it. That is all we got to do. So make sure you save. Double check these. Make sure they're saved too. Triple check. All right, that is all the code that you need. So once the code is done, woo, we need to attach the code to something. So we are going to attach player walk to the player, obviously, the character controller. So we're going to drag that over here. Maybe. Excuse you. Come on. There it is. All right. So there we go. Everything's added. So we have these lovely little audio clips waiting to be prepped, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now we want to put wood step on our platform here. So wood step. And then we want our little crack and crack step. All right. So now that that's all finished, the last thing that we need to do, there's two things we need to do now. We need to import our music. So let's go back up to assets. We're going to create a folder. We're going to call it sounds. And we are going to open sounds. Now we're going to go to assets. And we're going to import new assets. We're going to import our assets from our tutorials. And we have a nice little folder named sounds. And we want all three. So we'll just do that really fast. So we have crack effects, grass walk, and I believe the last one is called wood walk. Because I'm, whoops, no. Yes, I'm so creative, wood walk. Alright, so there are our three sounds. And we want to attach those to the script on player. So we're going to scroll down to player. And we want to put wood walk on wood effects. We want to put grass walk on grass effects. And we want to put crack effects on crack effects. Pretty simple. Now the last thing you need to remember to do, and this is very important or else you become very frustrated, is this has audio. So it needs to be coming from somewhere. So it needs to have an audio source. So we're going to add a component, an audio component, and we're going to add audio source. And it's very important to also uncheck play on awake, or else it's going to start making all those sounds at once immediately, and that would not be fun. Also, it wouldn't make any sense because you're not moving. All right, that should be everything. Let's save and run it. All right, everything looks nice, and all right, we have our little grass sound here. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And then we have our wood sound. Awesome. And, aha, it creaked. Just like it's supposed to. Very cool. All right. And then if you jump, it stops. All right. That is all you have to do. That is how you get different sound effects for different materials. That's all I've got for today. So, yeah. Thanks for sticking with me, and have fun in Unity, guys. Thanks for watching.